Hello there, and welcome to Sleep Science 360. It's good that you're here tonight. Maybe the day felt longer than usual, or maybe you're someone who finds comfort in quiet thoughts and the vast calm of the universe. Either way, this moment has already slowed. Nothing is being asked of you. The body begins to soften. Breathing eases. Even gravity feels a little gentler now. Because tonight, we aren't just thinking about space. We're drifting into the universe itself, an endless ocean of light and distance, where stars are born quietly, galaxies move without hurry, and time stretches far beyond human concern. Some of the light traveling through this vastness began its journey billions of years ago. And after all that silence, it has arrived. Here, with you, you breathe softly, and the universe exhales through you. The universe does not begin with motion. It begins with space, not empty space, not silence as absence, but room for things to exist without touching, room for distance to feel natural, room for time to stretch without effort. You are here now, listening, and somewhere far beyond this moment, the universe continues exactly as it always has, not waiting, not reacting, simply unfolding. The universe is about 8 billion years old. That number is almost impossible to hold, so it doesn't ask to be understood. It only asks to be noticed, briefly, before the mind lets go. 13.8 billion years is not a countdown. It is not a deadline. It is a quiet record of continuity, a reminder that time, on the largest scales, moves without urgency. Stars form slowly. Galaxies assemble patiently. Nothing here hurries to become complete. You breathe softly, and the universe exhales through you. When scientists speak of the universe, they do not describe a place with edges. There is no known boundary, no final wall, no outer frame holding everything in. Wherever you look, the universe extends farther. And wherever you imagine a limit, space continues beyond it. This does not create pressure. It creates relief, because a universe without edges does not trap anything. Thoughts do not collide with walls. Worries do not pile up at the end of things. Everything has room to drift. The universe has no center, no single point that everything circles around. From any location, it appears the same, expanding evenly, quietly, in all directions at once. That means there is no wrong place to be, no cosmic spotlight demanding attention, no privileged position. Just presence. Light travels through this vastness at about 300,000 kilometers per second. Even at that extraordinary speed, it still takes time, a great deal of time. Light leaving a distant galaxy tonight will continue its journey long after every current worry has faded, long after languages change, long after names are forgotten, and still, it moves calmly forward. Some of the light reaching Earth now began its path before life existed here, before oceans settled into place, before the air learned how to hold sound. It has crossed expanding space, passed through regions of deep quiet, and arrived without announcing itself. Light does not rush. It simply continues. You are not required to follow it. You are allowed to rest. The universe is not filled evenly. Most of it is space between things. Vast distances where nothing interrupts motion, where silence is not empty, but stable. In these regions, nothing demands attention. Nothing insists on meaning. Distance itself becomes a kind of calm. Galaxies float apart from one another, not because they are pushed, but because space itself is stretching. This expansion is gentle, steady, almost imperceptible, moment by moment. The universe grows larger, not louder. This expansion has been happening for billions of years, and it does not accelerate your thoughts. It does not chase conclusions. It simply carries everything outward, evenly, somewhere, far beyond familiar stars. New galaxies are still forming, slowly collecting gas and dust, spiraling into shape over millions of years. No rush, no announcement, just gradual becoming. You breathe softly, and the universe exhales through you. When we imagine the universe, it is easy to think of dramatic events, explosions, collisions, moments of sudden change. But most of cosmic history is made of waiting, long, quiet intervals where nothing remarkable happens, where systems remain stable, where motion repeats gently. Stars spend most of their lives doing the same thing, fusing hydrogen, shining steadily, holding their balance for billions of years. Consistency, not chaos, is the universe's default state. Even change unfolds slowly. The Milky Way itself, our home galaxy, takes about 230 million years to complete a single rotation. One slow turn, longer than the age of dinosaurs, longer than the rise and fall of civilizations. The galaxy does not notice urgency. It does not measure productivity. It turns because turning is what it does, and you are part of this motion. Whether you think about it or not, there is comfort in systems that do not depend on attention. Dark matter, an unseen presence, makes up much of the universe's structure. It does not glow. It does not announce itself. Yet without it, galaxies would not hold together. Stars would drift apart. Invisible things can still provide stability. You do not have to be seen to be supported. Most of the universe will never be touched by light. There are regions so distant that their light will never reach us, even given infinite time. These places exist quietly, without witnesses. They do not disappear because they are unseen. They do not diminish without attention. They simply are. You are allowed the same rest. As the universe expands, some galaxies move beyond our reach. Their light stretches, grows faint, and eventually fades from view. This is not loss. It is distance increasing naturally. Nothing is being taken away. Nothing is being rushed out. Space makes room, gently. The laws governing the universe are remarkably simple at their core. Gravity, motion, energy. They apply everywhere, without exception. No special rules are needed, no adjustments for mood or moment. Consistency creates safety. When you lie still, you are aligned with this consistency. Breath follows breath. The body repeats familiar rhythms. No improvement required. You breathe softly, and the universe exhales through you. In the earliest moments after the universe began, conditions were hot and dense. But even then, expansion was already underway. From the very beginning, space was opening, not closing in, not collapsing inward, opening. This expansion created the possibility of distance. Distance allowed cooling. Cooling allowed structure. Structure allowed stars. And stars allowed everything that followed. All of this unfolded without intention, without urgency, just natural progression. When we step back far enough, the universe looks smooth, even, balanced. Small irregularities fade at scale. Sharp edges soften. Perspective changes experience. There is nothing you need to solve here. No puzzle waiting for completion. Just a vast system continuing its quiet work. Somewhere, light continues to travel. Somewhere, time continues to stretch. And here, in this moment, the body settles, breathing slows, thoughts thin, gravity feels gentler. You are not falling behind. You are moving with everything else, slowly, naturally, without effort. And as this first gentle understanding settles, we drift onward, not toward answers, but toward deeper quiet. As part one settles into the background, our awareness begins to widen, not outward with effort, but outward naturally, as if the universe itself is gently opening our perspective. When we look up at the night sky, it often feels close. Stars appear like pinpoints placed carefully overhead. Constellations seem arranged, almost intentional. But this sense of closeness is a quiet illusion. The universe is defined not by what we see, but by the vast distances between what we see. The nearest star system beyond our sun is more than 4 light years away. That means the light leaving that star travels for over 4 years before it reaches Earth. 4 years of uninterrupted motion. 4 years of silence. 4 years without deviation. And, in the language of the universe, this distance is considered nearby. Galaxies are not measured in steps, or hours, or days. They are measured in light years, and often in millions of them. This shift in measurement is important. It gently removes urgency from the conversation. It reminds the mind that speed is no longer the focus. At these scales, time stretches naturally. And when time stretches, pressure dissolves. Our home galaxy contains hundreds of billions of stars, each one separated by immense space, not crowded, not competing, simply existing in parallel. Stars rarely collide. There is too much room. This abundance of space is not inefficiency. It is stability. Distance acts as a buffer. It absorbs extremes. It prevents chaos from spreading. The universe prefers room over closeness, spacing over compression. And in that preference, quiet emerges. When astronomers map the universe on its largest observable scales, they find something unexpected. Not disorder, not randomness. They find structure. Galaxies arrange themselves along enormous filaments, vast threads of matter stretching across billions of light years. Between these filaments are immense regions called voids, places with very few galaxies. Sometimes none at all. These voids are not empty by mistake. They are essential. Most of the universe's volume exists within these quiet regions, not glowing, not active, simply present. Emptiness it turns out, is not the absence of reality. It is the dominant feature of it. This does not suggest lack. It suggests balance. In these wide voids, nothing demands attention. Nothing interrupts motion. Nothing insists on meaning. Space itself becomes calming. You breathe softly, and the universe exhales through you. As distance increases, motion becomes gentler. Events spread out. Change loses its sharp edges. Even powerful cosmic events are surrounded by immense quiet. A supernova may release enormous energy, but its light disperses into space. Its shock waves fade. Its brightness softens over time. Nothing stays loud forever. This is one of the universe's quiet assurances. Intensity always dissolves. Perspective smooths experience. When we step far enough back, even dramatic moments blend into a larger calm. Gravity shapes galaxies, but it does so patiently, over millions and billions of years. Nothing pushes, nothing rushes. Everything unfolds at the speed of stability. After the universe began, matter did not immediately form stars. It spread, it cooled, it thinned. Only much later did gravity gently gather matter together. This delay was not a flaw. It was necessary. Without space, nothing could form gently. Without distance, there would be no calm. The expansion of the universe continues even now. Every distant galaxy moves away from every other galaxy, not because they are fleeing, but because space itself is slowly stretching. This stretching is uniform, predictable, quiet. There is no preferred direction, no special location. From any galaxy, the universe looks much the same. This equality of perspective creates deep reassurance. No place is under special pressure. No region is singled out. Everything participates equally in the slow unfolding. Our presence within this vastness does not disturb it. We do not tilt its balance. We do not interrupt its rhythm. We are carried along, without effort. The mind, when faced with such scale, often responds by loosening its grip. Thoughts slow. Concerns soften. The nervous system recognizes that nothing here is urgent. Large scale creates safety. There is comfort in knowing that nothing in the universe is happening too fast for reality to hold. Everything has room. And in that room, rest becomes possible. As we continue outward, distance feels less like separation and more like softness. Edges blur, boundaries thin. The universe does not crowd itself. It leaves space for stillness. On the largest scales, time begins to feel different. When distances stretch across billions of light years, events lose their immediacy. They no longer press close to the present. They settle into long, steady arcs. Galaxies evolve slowly. Their shapes shift over eons. Spiral arms form and thin. Stars are born, shine, and dim without hurry. A single rotation of a large galaxy can take hundreds of millions of years. During that gentle turn, entire histories unfold and pass, unnoticed by the stars themselves. This does not diminish those histories. It places them within a wider calm. The universe does not measure importance by speed or intensity. It measures by persistence. What lasts does not need to announce itself. Light traveling across intergalactic space changes as it moves. Its wavelength stretches. Its energy softens. By the time it reaches distant observers, it carries the signature of long travel, a quiet imprint of distance. Distance calms energy. Nothing remains sharp forever. This gradual softening is not accidental. It is woven into the structure of reality. Intensity disperses. Balance returns. When the most distant galaxies are observed, they are not seen as they are now, but as they were billions of years ago. Distance becomes memory. The universe holds its past without clinging to it. Everything continues forward, while earlier states rest quietly behind. Time and distance move together, creating continuity without pressure. You breathe softly, and the universe exhales through you. On these scales, even gravity behaves gently. Its pull weakens with distance. Its influence spreads thin. Nothing dominates completely. Clusters of galaxies form, yet they do not collapse endlessly inward. Their motions balance. Their structures persist. The universe avoids extremes by spacing itself widely. Room allows endurance. When emptiness is imagined, it often feels like lack. But in the universe, emptiness has function. It allows light to travel. It gives motion somewhere to go. It prevents overcrowding. Emptiness is not fragile. It is stabilizing. The vast spaces between galaxies contain faint radiation, low-energy particles, subtle fields that drift quietly. Nothing is truly absent. It is simply quiet. Quiet does not mean weak. It means steady. The universe has endured for billions of years, not through intensity, but through spaciousness. Room makes longevity possible. As this sense of space settles in, the mind begins to mirror it. Thoughts widen, edges soften. The urge to resolve loosens. There is nothing pressing here. Distance removes urgency. On smaller scales, closeness can create tension. Crowding amplifies noise. Immediacy demands response. The universe teaches a different rhythm. By spreading out, it remains calm. By allowing distance, it preserves order. Even the largest known structures, superclusters of galaxies, are loosely bound. They drift more than they cling. Nothing grips too tightly. This looseness is not instability. It is resilience. Systems that allow space are less likely to fracture. This pattern repeats quietly across the cosmos. Somewhere within this vast arrangement, our own galaxy drifts, one among countless others, not singled out, not burdened, simply present. This awareness does not ask for comparison. It does not ask for meaning. It offers relief. There is nothing to live up to at these scales. Existence is already enough. As distances expand beyond comprehension, numbers lose their hold. Measurement fades. What remains is sensation, a sense of openness, of room to pause, room to release. The universe does not close in. It opens outward. And in that opening, stillness settles. As this gentle understanding deepens, the need to track thought diminishes. Nothing needs to be held. A vast structure continues calmly, whether observed or not. Somewhere, light continues to travel. somewhere, time continues to stretch, and here, the body rests more fully, breathing slows, awareness thins, distance becomes softness, and as this quiet perspective completes its arc, we drift onward, not toward answers, but toward deeper ease, where thought grows lighter, and rest arrives without effort. Light moves through the universe without awareness. It does not know speed. It does not feel distance. It simply continues. Before planets cooled, before stars settled into steady rhythms, light was already traveling through open space, crossing regions where nothing interrupted its path. Light does not carry intention. It carries continuity in the universe. Light travels at a constant speed, about 300,000 kilometers per second. This speed does not change, no matter how fast the source moves, no matter how far the destination lies. Even so, the universe is so large that light often spends millions or billions of years in motion. Time, for light, becomes distance. A beam leaving a distant galaxy moves across expanding space, passing through silence so complete that even matter is rare. No sound follows it. No signal announces its passage. Only motion remains. Some of the light reaching Earth tonight began its journey before life existed here, before oceans found their shape, before the atmosphere learned how to scatter blue across the sky. That light has crossed eras without noticing them. Light does not remember where it began. It does not anticipate where it will arrive. It moves because motion is allowed. You breathe softly, and the universe exhales through you. When distant galaxies are observed, they are not seen as they are now. They are seen as they were long ago. Distance turns observation into memory. A galaxy 1 billion light years away appears frozen in an earlier state. Its present moment remains unseen, still sending light outward, still unfolding quietly. The universe preserves its past without effort. Nothing needs to be stored. Nothing needs to be recalled. Light carries history automatically. Every direction in space contains earlier versions of existence. Every patch of darkness holds ancient light, still moving. This does not overwhelm. It stabilizes. The past is not gone. It is simply distant. There is a faint glow that fills all of space evenly. It does not come from stars. It does not come from galaxies. It is older than both. This ancient light is the cooled remnant of the universe's earliest era, released when space itself first became transparent. After billions of years of expansion, it now appears as a gentle background, almost perfectly uniform. It is quiet. It is everywhere. Even in the deepest darkness, this background light remains. Nothing is ever completely without light. As the universe expands, light stretches with it. Wavelengths lengthen. Energy thins. What began intense becomes calm. Brightness fades gently into background presence. The universe does not erase light. It softens it. Sharp edges dissolve. Intensity disperses. Change arrives gradually. When light travels long enough, its original force is no longer felt. What remains is a quiet trace, evidence of passage, not urgency. Distance acts as a filter. Time acts as a buffer. Together, they calm everything. Stars shine for millions, sometimes billions of years, sending light outward steadily. When a star eventually changes, its light continues on. Long after the source has shifted, the universe allows echoes without noise. Past and present coexist without collision. Nothing rushes to replace what has ended. Nothing insists on immediacy. Everything leaves gently. You breathe softly, and the universe exhales through you. In interstellar space, matter is sparse. Only a few particles drift through each cubic meter. This thinness allows light to travel without resistance. No friction, no disturbance. Silence in space is not emptiness. It is freedom from interruption. Light does not need guidance. It does not search for paths. Space itself provides the way. Even when light passes near massive objects, its path bends subtly, not sharply, not violently. Gravity curves space, and light follows the curve. There is no collision, only adjustment. The universe shapes motion without forceful intervention. Everything responds naturally. Over long journeys, light passes near stars, skirts galaxies, crosses voids larger than imagination. It is never hurried, never delayed by impatience. Motion continues until it no longer does. Some light will never reach anything at all. It will travel forever, expanding with space, growing quieter with distance. This is not failure. It is simply continuation. Existence does not require arrival. The universe allows movement without destination. Light does not ask whether it will be seen. It moves anyway. As awareness rests on this gentle persistence, thoughts begin to drift in the same way, without goal, without tension. The tension loosens. The mind no longer tracks progress. Brightness becomes background. Movement becomes calm. Even the idea of time feels less defined. Light shows that continuity does not require urgency. Travel does not require effort. Presence does not require attention. Somewhere, light continues to move. Somewhere, it stretches and softens. Somewhere, it fades into quiet background. And here, the body settles deeper. Breathing slows. Muscles release. Awareness thins, like light dispersing across distance. Nothing needs to be followed. Nothing needs to be held. Light continues on its own. And as this understanding settles, as motion becomes background, the drift deepens gently, naturally towards softer awareness, where thought dims and rest grows closer. As light continues its quiet journey, sound disappears entirely. In space, there is no air to carry vibration, no medium to transmit noise. Movement occurs without echo. Events unfold without announcement. Silence is not imposed. It is natural. Light travels through this silence without interruption. No resistance slows it. No sound accompanies it. The universe does not narrate itself. This absence of sound does not create emptiness. It creates stillness. In this stillness, nothing competes for attention. Nothing interrupts the flow of motion. Light passes through regions where a single particle may drift for kilometers without encountering another. Space becomes a place where continuity feels effortless. You breathe softly, and the universe exhales through you. As light moves farther from its source, its energy spreads thinner. Its presence becomes gentler. What once arrived as brightness softens into background glow. This process happens everywhere, all the time. The universe quietly reduces intensity without extinguishing it. No sharp transitions, no sudden endings, just gradual fading. When light reaches distant observers, it often arrives, stretched its wavelength longer, its energy lower. This stretching tells a story, not of urgency, but of patience. Distance leaves a signature of calm. The farther light travels, the quieter it becomes. Time, in the universe, is not marked by ticking. It is marked by spreading. Moments do not stack tightly together. They open outward. Light demonstrates this gently. As it travels, it carries no schedule, no expectation of arrival. It is allowed to take as long as space requires. Some light journeys for billions of years without ever being seen. It moves through expanding space, stretching, thinning, growing ever quieter. This is not waste. It is freedom. The universe allows movement without purpose. Nothing insists on being witnessed. Light does not seek meaning. It simply persists. As silence deepens, even the idea of direction becomes less defined. Forward and backward lose urgency. Distance replaces destination. Motion becomes background. In this vast quiet, the universe feels less like a place and more like a condition, a state of openness. Light continues to travel because space allows it. No effort is required. When light passes near massive objects, space curves gently. Paths bend without resistance. There is no impact, only redirection. The universe guides motion without command. Everything adjusts naturally. This bending does not hurry light. It does not trap it. Motion resumes, unaltered in pace, over immense distances. Light may curve, stretch, soften, yet it never becomes tense. Nothing here strains. You breathe softly, and the universe exhales through you. As awareness settles into this rhythm, the mind begins to imitate it. Thoughts stretch out, their edges blur. Intensity dissolves. There is no need to follow ideas to their conclusions. They can drift, like light across space. Sound fades from attention. Internal dialogue quiets. What remains is presence without commentary. The universe offers no soundtrack, only continuity. In this quiet, the nervous system recognizes safety. Nothing approaches quickly. Nothing demands response. Time widens. Even change feels slow enough to be gentle. Light shows that movement does not require urgency. That persistence does not require effort. As the universe expands, light expands with it, not rushing to keep up, simply stretching. This stretching turns brightness into glow, glow into background. Everything finds its place within a larger calm. Somewhere, light continues its long journey. Somewhere, it thins and softens. And here, the body grows heavier, resting more fully. Breathing slows further. Muscles loosen without instruction. Awareness drifts, no longer anchored to thought. Silence holds gently. There is nothing to reach, nothing to anticipate. Light continues on its own. Time opens quietly. And as this final understanding of light settles as motion fades into background presence, attention drifts naturally onward toward a slower dimension where time itself begins to soften and urgency quietly dissolves. Time in the universe does not press forward. It opens. It does not count down. It unfolds. On the largest scales, time is not experienced as a sequence of moments. It is experienced as duration-wide, steady, unhurried. Events are separated by vast intervals. Change spreads thin. Nothing stacks tightly together. In this setting, urgency has no place. The universe is old about 8 billion years, but age here does not imply wear. It implies continuity. Time has not rushed toward an ending. It has expanded outward, carrying everything with it. Galaxies have taken billions of years to form their shapes. Stars spend most of their existence in long, stable phases, changing so gradually that motion feels like stillness. Time does not push them, it holds them. A star similar to the sun will shine for around 10 billion years. Most of that span is quiet balance. Fusion proceeds steadily. Energy flows outward evenly. Nothing about this process is hurried. From a human perspective, this duration feels unimaginable. From a cosmic perspective, it feels appropriate. Time matches scale in the universe. Large things move slowly. Small changes take long periods to become noticeable. This relationship between size and speed creates calm. Massive systems do not lurch, they drift. You breathe softly, and the universe exhales through you. On Earth, time is often compressed. Schedules tighten. Moments are measured and filled. In space, time is spacious. Between the birth of one star and the next significant change, millions of years may pass with little visible difference. This is not inactivity. It is stability. The universe values duration over intensity. Even dramatic events, like the formation of a galaxy, unfold across immense spans of time. Gas clouds gather slowly. Gravity works patiently. Spiral arms take shape over hundreds of millions of years. No step demands speed. Nothing arrives suddenly. The universe is not late. It is never early. It simply continues. On the largest scales, time does not feel linear. Past, present, and future do not crowd one another. Light carries earlier moments forward. Expansion carries current moments outward. Everything has room. When astronomers observe distant regions of space, they see different eras at once. One direction reveals young galaxies. Another shows mature structures. Time is distributed across the sky. There is no single now that dominates everything. This distribution softens the idea of sequence. Moments do not pile up. They spread out. Time becomes landscape rather than pressure. In this landscape, nothing chases the next moment. The universe does not hurry toward outcomes. Processes complete when they are ready. Stars do not rush their fuel. Galaxies do not rush their orbits. Everything unfolds at the pace that preserves balance. You breathe softly, and the universe exhales through you. The expansion of the universe continues at a measured rate. Space stretches gently, carrying galaxies farther apart over billions of years. This expansion does not accelerate thought. It does not demand adaptation. It happens slowly enough to feel constant. Change becomes background. Even when the universe was younger, its changes were governed by the same principle: scale sets, tempo. As space expanded, temperatures dropped gradually. Structures emerged when conditions allowed. Nothing forced completion. Time provided room. On cosmic scales, there is no penalty for waiting. Waiting is not idle. It is foundational. The universe allows conditions to develop fully before transitions occur. This patience prevents instability. Rapid change would tear structures apart. Slow change allows them to endure. Time, here, is a stabilizing force. It cushions transitions. It smooths extremes. When a star eventually exhausts its fuel, the process unfolds over long spans. Outer layers drift away. Cores contract or settle. Even endings take time. Nothing snaps. Nothing collapses abruptly without preparation. The universe does not surprise itself. Time ensures continuity. As awareness settles into this rhythm, the mind begins to loosen its own pacing. Thoughts lengthen. Pauses appear naturally. The sense of next fades. There is no sequence to keep up with, only duration. Time here does not measure productivity. It does not reward speed. It simply allows existence to continue. This allowance creates ease. In a universe where time is wide, there is no need to hurry. Everything that matters has already been given room. The body responds quietly to this understanding. Breathing evens out. Muscles release their readiness. There is nothing approaching quickly. No moment is closing in. Time stretches open, like space itself. As this sense of unhurried duration settles, as urgency thins into background, awareness drifts naturally onward toward deeper calm, where time continues to widen, and motion becomes almost imperceptible. As time continues to widen, movement becomes less noticeable. On the largest scales, motion is measured in patience. Cycles repeat so slowly that change feels like stillness. Galaxies rotate over immense spans. A single, complete turn can take hundreds of millions of years. During that time, nothing needs to be adjusted. Stars maintain their paths. Arms hold their shape. The rotation continues without correction. This is not inertia. It is balance. Time allows systems to find their rhythm and remain there. Even orbits that seem precise are forgiving. Small variations smooth out over long durations. The universe does not require perfection. It requires time. When matter moves slowly enough, errors fade. Instabilities settle. Time acts as a gentle editor, removing sharpness, leaving continuity behind. You breathe softly, and the universe exhales through you. Within galaxies, stars orbit their centers without awareness of the journey. They follow curves shaped by gravity, paths established long ago. No star hurries along its orbit. No star falls behind. The pace is set by scale, and scale ensures calm. Between one position and the next, millions of years may pass. Yet the pattern holds. Time does not demand attention to sustain order. Order persists quietly. On smaller scales, Planets trace their paths with similar patience. Orbits repeat, year after year, century after century. Even here, change is gradual. Axial tilts shift slowly. Orbits evolve gently. Nothing arrives abruptly. The universe favors transitions that can be absorbed. When change comes slowly enough, systems adapt without strain. This is how stability endures. Time also governs decay. But decay here is not collapse. It is transformation. Stars age. Elements rearrange. Energy redistributes. All of this happens without haste. The universe does not resist change, but it does not rush it either. Transformation is given space to complete itself fully. As time stretches, beginnings and endings lose contrast. They blend into long continuities. What appears as an ending from one perspective becomes a beginning from another. Time allows this overlap without conflict. There is no moment where everything must resolve at once. Processes interlace gently. You breathe softly, and the universe exhales through you. On cosmic timescales, even dramatic events are absorbed into long calm. A star's final phase may appear sudden from afar, but it is prepared by millions of years of gradual change. The universe does not surprise itself. Every transition is preceded by long adjustment. This preparation reduces shock. Nothing snaps into place. Even silence takes time. Between events, there are long intervals where nothing demands observation. These intervals are not empty. They are foundational. They allow systems to remain intact. In these stretches of quiet time, the universe rests within itself. There is no sense of loss in waiting. Waiting is the default. Time here is not a resource to be spent. It is an environment to exist within. This shift changes how duration is felt. Minutes and hours lose relevance. Only continuity remains. As awareness settles into this scale, internal pacing begins to loosen. Thoughts no longer line up in sequence. They drift, overlap, then thin. The need to measure fades. There is no countdown here, no approaching edge. Time does not close in. It opens outward. The future is not rushing toward the present. It is spreading gently ahead. The past does not pull backward. It rests quietly behind. The present floats between them, unpressured. This floating quality creates ease. The body recognizes it instinctively. Breathing becomes slower, not by decision, but by alignment. Muscles soften as readiness dissolves. There is nothing to prepare for. Time continues whether attended to or not. This constancy allows rest. In a universe where time is wide, there is no penalty for stillness. Nothing is missed by pausing. Everything important moves slowly enough to remain intact. As this understanding deepens, urgency loses its meaning. There is no advantage to speed here, no reward for acceleration. Only persistence matters, and persistence requires patience. As time stretches further, as motion thins into background, awareness drifts toward quieter structures, toward the spaces between things, where architecture emerges from emptiness and calm takes on form. Space is not arranged randomly. It appears open, but it is quietly structured. Beneath the vast distances and slow time, there is an architecture not built, not designed, but formed naturally through balance. On the largest scales, matter gathers along invisible frameworks. Galaxies align into filaments, vast threads stretching across the universe, connecting clusters over billions of light years. Between these filaments, enormous voids remain, regions where matter is sparse, where movement is minimal, where quiet dominates. This pattern repeats everywhere. Structure and emptiness exist together, each defining the other. The universe is mostly space, not stars, not galaxies, but distance. This distance is not unused. It is essential. Without space between things, nothing would remain stable. Motion would collapse inward. Energy would concentrate too quickly. Space provides relief. It allows gravity to work gently. It allows light to travel freely. It allows systems to exist without interference. You breathe softly, and the universe exhales through you. This architecture did not appear suddenly. It emerged slowly. As the universe expanded and cooled, tiny variations in density were stretched across enormous scales. Over time, these slight differences guided matter, gathering it gradually into the structures seen today. Nothing was forced. Nothing was rushed. The universe allowed form to arise naturally. Even now, this architecture continues to evolve, but so slowly that it feels permanent. Galaxies drift along filaments. Clusters hold together loosely. Voids remain wide and calm. There is no need for adjustment. The universe maintains itself through spacing and balance. On smaller scales, similar patterns appear. Stars gather into galaxies, but remain far apart. Solar systems form, but leave vast distances between planets. Even within atoms, space dominates. Particles occupy tiny regions, surrounded by openness. At every scale, room is preserved. This repetition creates harmony. The universe does not pack itself tightly. It spreads. Spreading reduces tension. Spreading allows endurance. When matter is allowed space, it remains organized without strain. Architecture here is not rigid. It is flexible. Structures can absorb change because they are not compressed. This flexibility prevents collapse. Nothing here needs to be braced. You breathe softly, and the universe exhales through you. In the quiet spaces between galaxies, motion is minimal. Temperatures are low. Radiation is faint. These regions change so slowly that they feel timeless. Nothing presses forward. The universe rests within its own framework. This rest is not inactivity. It is equilibrium. For billions of years, these structures have persisted, not because they resist change, but because change arrives gently. The architecture of space is designed for longevity. Sharp angles are rare. Sudden transitions are smoothed. Everything curves. Everything blends. Even gravity, often imagined as forceful, acts subtly across distance. Its influence weakens gradually, never snapping abruptly. This gradual nature prevents shock. The universe avoids strain by allowing space to mediate interaction. Distance becomes protection. When two galaxies pass near one another, their interaction unfolds slowly over hundreds of millions of years. Their shapes may distort, their stars rearrange, but nothing tears instantly. Time and space work together to soften impact. Even collisions are gentle, stretched across vast duration. The architecture absorbs motion. You breathe softly, and the universe exhales through you. In this framework, nothing demands precision. Small irregularities fade over time. Imbalances distribute themselves across distance. Perfection is not required, only room. This allowance creates calm. Systems do not need to be monitored. They do not require correction. The universe does not supervise itself. It trusts its own spacing. As awareness rests on this idea, the mind begins to reflect it. Thoughts no longer press together. They spread out. They leave gaps. Silence appears naturally between ideas. There is no need to fill these spaces. Emptiness here is not absence. It is support. Just as space supports structure, pause supports rest. The universe shows that holding less creates stability. Nothing needs to be held tightly. As this understanding settles, as architecture fades into background presence, attention drifts gently toward even quieter regions, where structure becomes suggestion, and rest deepens further. Beyond the visible structures, there is another layer of quiet. In the vast regions between galaxies, space is not completely empty. It contains faint energy, subtle fields, and particles so sparse they rarely meet. This background presence is gentle and uniform. It does not clump. It does not rush. Even emptiness has texture. These wide cosmic voids make up most of the universe's volume. They are calm regions where change unfolds slowly, almost imperceptibly. Nothing here seeks attention. Temperature in these regions hovers near absolute quiet. Energy levels remain low. Motion is minimal. Time passes without visible markers. The universe does not fill every space. It leaves room intentionally, not by choice, but by balance. This openness allows everything else to exist. You breathe softly, and the universe exhales through you. Within this quiet architecture, even the concept of force softens. Vacuum energy, a faint, persistent presence, exists everywhere in space. It does not surge. It does not diminish. It remains steady, supporting expansion gently. Nothing collapses inward. Nothing presses too tightly together. Space itself resists compression by remaining open. This subtle resistance prevents extremes. The universe protects itself through emptiness. In regions where matter is scarce, interactions are rare. Particles drift for long distances without disturbance. Motion occurs without friction. This frictionless quality reduces strain. Systems last longer when nothing rubs against them. Longevity here comes from gentleness. The architecture of space does not impose structure aggressively. It suggests structure quietly. Filaments guide galaxies, but do not bind them tightly. Voids allow freedom, but do not isolate. Everything is held loosely. This looseness creates resilience. When change arrives, there is room to absorb it. Nothing fractures suddenly. Even large-scale adjustments are distributed across distance and time. The universe absorbs impact by spreading it out. You breathe softly, and the universe exhales through you. Silence in these vast spaces is not a lack of activity. It is a lack of interruption. Processes continue quietly without noise. Energy flows without turbulence. Fields shift without disturbance. This absence of interference creates stability. In such an environment, systems do not need reinforcement. They persist naturally. The architecture of space relies on allowance, not control. Nothing is forced into place. This principle repeats everywhere, from the largest voids to the smallest atomic gaps. Space is left open. Openness becomes the foundation. When openness is present, pressure dissolves. The universe does not crowd itself. Crowding would create tension. Tension would shorten duration. By remaining open, the universe endures. As awareness rests on this idea, the mind mirrors it. Thoughts separate. Pauses lengthen. Silence between ideas feels supportive, not empty. There is no need to connect everything. Loose association becomes enough. The body responds by softening further. Breathing deepens slightly, then slows. Muscles release their final readiness. Nothing needs to be anticipated. Space holds everything without gripping it. This holding is gentle. The universe does not clutch. It cradles. In this cradle of distance, motion becomes effortless. Objects move because there is room to move. Nothing pushes from behind. Nothing pulls sharply ahead. Movement happens as a consequence of openness. As this understanding settles, architecture fades into background presence. Structure becomes suggestion. Form dissolves into calm. What remains is space itself wide, quiet, supportive. And within this space, motion begins to feel unnecessary. Stillness becomes natural. As the universe continues to hold itself through openness and balance, awareness drifts gently onward toward motion that requires no effort, where things move simply because they can, and rest deepens without intention. In the universe, motion does not require intention. Nothing decides to move. Nothing plans a path. Movement happens because space allows it. After long stretches of stillness and quiet architecture, motion appears naturally, not as action, but as continuation. Everything that moves does so gently. Galaxies drift through expanding space without engines, without direction, without urgency. They do not push forward, they are carried. This movement is not slow or fast. It simply matches scale. On the largest scales, motion unfolds over millions and billions of years. Speed becomes irrelevant. What matters is ease. Galaxies do not struggle against their motion. They do not resist it. They follow the curves of space as water follows land. You breathe softly, and the universe exhales through you. Within galaxies, stars move in wide, patient arcs. Their paths are set by gravity, not forceful, but guiding. Gravity does not pull sharply. It shapes space gently, and motion follows that shape. Nothing is dragged. Nothing is pushed. Stars orbit because there is nowhere else to rest. Their motion feels effortless because it is shared. Each star participates in the same curve, the same balance. No correction is needed. This is how motion persists without fatigue. Even planets follow this pattern. They do not chase their orbits. They settle into them. Once a path is established, movement continues without further input. Energy is conserved. Effort disappears. The universe prefers paths that require the least resistance. This preference creates calm. When resistance is low, systems last longer. Motion becomes sustainable. In space, friction is almost absent. Matter moves without rubbing against surroundings. No heat is generated by motion alone. No wear accumulates. Movement does not degrade the system. This absence of friction is one reason the universe remains stable over immense durations. Nothing wears out quickly. You breathe softly, and the universe exhales through you. On interstellar scales, objects can travel for millions of years without significant interference. Particles drift, fields shift, light continues. Nothing interrupts unless necessary. Motion here is background activity. It does not announce itself. This quiet movement creates a sense of continuity. Nothing starts suddenly. Nothing stops abruptly. Everything transitions smoothly. Even changes in direction are gradual. When paths bend, they bend slowly. When speeds change, they change gently. Acceleration is rare. Deceleration is rare. Balance dominates. The universe does not reward force. It rewards alignment. Things move easily when they align with space. This principle repeats from the largest structures to the smallest interactions. When motion aligns with structure, effort fades. The universe demonstrates that movement does not need striving. It only needs room. As expansion continues, space itself carries motion outward. Galaxies separate not because they flee, but because space between them grows. This separation does not require energy from the galaxies themselves. They are passengers in a larger process. Being carried is not the same as being pushed. Carried motion feels lighter. Nothing resists it. Time passes without friction. In this carried motion, there is no sense of destination. No arrival is expected. Movement exists for its own continuity. This removes pressure. You breathe softly, and the universe exhales through you. Within this framework, even large changes feel effortless. When galaxies interact, their motions combine gradually. Paths merge, orbits adjust. Nothing collides suddenly. The universe stretches interactions across long spans to reduce strain. Time and space work together to soften motion. This cooperation keeps systems intact. Motion does not threaten structure. It preserves it. Because movement is gentle. Architecture remains stable. Nothing needs reinforcement. The universe trusts its own design. As awareness rests on this idea, the mind begins to respond. Thoughts move more slowly. They drift instead of jump. Attention follows curves instead of straight lines. There is no need to direct thinking. Ideas arise, then move on without effort. Mental friction reduces. This reduction allows rest to deepen. Breathing remains steady. The body feels supported by stillness and motion together. Nothing needs to be done. Motion continues without requiring attention. Even awareness itself can drift. The universe shows that movement and rest are not opposites. They coexist. Motion can be restful when it is effortless. Stillness can contain motion without disturbance. As this understanding settles, as movement fades into background rhythm, awareness drifts further toward an even quieter state, where motion becomes barely noticeable and rest holds gently. As motion continues without effort, awareness begins to loosen its focus. Movement no longer draws attention. It becomes background rhythm, steady, predictable, unremarkable in the universe. Most motion is unconscious. Stars do not know they orbit. Galaxies do not sense their drift. Particles move without awareness of direction. Nothing monitors the path. Nothing corrects the course. Motion persists because balance has already been found. Once balance exists, movement maintains itself. This is how systems endure without supervision. Orbits repeat quietly. Cycles return without announcement. No reminder is required. You breathe softly, and the universe exhales through you. On cosmic scales, repetition is not monotony. It is stability. When motion repeats gently, nothing is strained. The same path can be followed for millions of years without fatigue. This repetition allows rest within motion. Nothing needs to be watched closely. In this way, the universe removes effort from continuation. Even change follows this pattern. When conditions shift, they do so gradually. New paths emerge only when old ones dissolve naturally. There is no abrupt redirection. Motion adjusts itself over long durations. Time absorbs transitions. This absorption prevents disruption. Nothing is startled into movement. Nothing is forced to stop. Everything eases from one state into the next. Motion here is forgiving. Small variations smooth out. Irregularities disperse. The universe does not demand precision. It allows approximation. An approximation is easier to sustain. You breathe softly, and the universe exhales through you. As expansion continues, the fabric of space itself becomes the carrier of motion. Objects move because space moves. This removes effort entirely from the objects themselves. They do not initiate. They do not resist. They simply remain within what is unfolding. This kind of motion is the least demanding. Nothing is spent. Energy is conserved by alignment, not exertion. The universe chooses paths that preserve energy by avoiding struggle. When motion aligns with structure, effort disappears. This principle repeats in every stable system. Paths persist because they require nothing extra. As awareness settles deeper, this idea reflects inward. Thoughts no longer chase outcomes. They follow familiar curves. Mental motion becomes habitual, predictable, soft. There is no urgency to reach a conclusion. Ideas pass through without friction. Attention drifts where it is allowed to drift. Nothing pulls it sharply. Silence between thoughts lengthens. This silence is not interruption. It is continuation. Just as motion continues between positions, awareness continues between thoughts. The gaps hold everything together. You breathe softly, and the universe exhales through you. In this state, even direction loses importance. Forward and backward feel less distinct. Movement becomes less about progress and more about presence. The universe does not move toward a destination. It moves because movement is possible. This removes pressure from arrival. Nothing is late. Nothing is early. Motion happens when it happens. This timing is always sufficient. On these scales, there is no finish line, only continuation. As motion becomes background, rest becomes foreground. Stillness grows without stopping movement. Both coexist naturally. The universe holds motion within stillness, and stillness within motion. This balance creates deep calm. Nothing needs to be adjusted. Nothing needs to be done. As this understanding settles fully, as movement fades into rhythm, patterns begin to emerge. Not patterns that hurry, but patterns that repeat gently over long spans, without urgency. Awareness drifts toward these patterns now, carried effortlessly, as rest deepens further, and the universe continues exactly as it always has. As motion settles into rhythm, patterns begin to appear. Not patterns that announce themselves, but patterns that repeat quietly, over spans of time so long they feel permanent. In the universe, nothing moves at random for long. Over time, paths repeat, cycles form, rhythms establish themselves without instruction. These patterns are not imposed, they emerge. When motion is allowed to continue without interruption, it naturally settles into repetition. Repetition here is not habit, it is balance. Galaxies rotate. Arms maintain their curves. Stars follow familiar arcs around shared centers. These movements repeat, not because they must, but because they require the least effort. Patterns that last are patterns that do not strain. You breathe softly, and the universe exhales through you. Across the universe, similar structures appear again and again. Spiral galaxies echo one another. Elliptical galaxies share smooth outlines. Clusters arrange themselves in comparable ways. This repetition is not coincidence. It is the result of the same principles applied everywhere. Gravity behaves consistently. Space responds predictably. Time allows adjustments. When the same conditions exist, the same patterns emerge. This consistency creates familiarity. Nothing here surprises itself. Even at the largest scales, the universe arranges matter into recognizable forms. Filaments stretch, voids open, clusters gather. The pattern repeats across billions of light years. Variation exists, but within boundaries. The universe explores possibilities slowly, carefully. It does not rush toward novelty. Change is permitted, but only when it can be absorbed. This restraint keeps patterns intact. You breathe softly, and the universe exhales through you. Patterns also govern time. Cycles repeat over immense durations. Stars form, shine steadily, then change. New stars form from familiar materials. Elements circulate. Energy redistributes. Nothing appears from nothing. Nothing disappears completely. Processes loop. These loops are not closed tightly. They are open, allowing gradual evolution. The universe repeats itself with variation, not urgency. This repetition provides continuity. When patterns persist, systems feel stable. Stability does not require stasis. It requires rhythm. Rhythm allows movement without disruption. In space, rhythm unfolds slowly. There is no rapid beat, no sharp tempo, only long intervals between changes. This slow rhythm reduces strain. Systems that move slowly are less likely to break. The universe seems to know this. It chooses rhythms that endure. You breathe softly, and the universe exhales through you. Even randomness in the universe is guided by pattern. Particles move unpredictably in small moments. Yet over time, their behavior averages out. Large-scale order emerges from small-scale variation. This smoothing requires time. Time allows randomness to settle into pattern. The longer the duration, the smoother the result. Sharp deviations fade. Outliers dissolve. What remains is predictable. Gentle structure. This process does not hurry. It unfolds naturally. The universe trusts that, given enough time, balance will appear. There is no need to intervene. Patterns do not require maintenance. They sustain themselves. As awareness rests on this idea, the mind begins to mirror it. Thoughts slow into familiar shapes. Attention returns to known rhythms. There is comfort in repetition, not repetition that confines, but repetition that supports. Breathing repeats. Heartbeat repeats. These patterns persist without supervision. The body knows how to follow rhythm. It does not need instruction. Just as galaxies repeat their paths, the body repeats its cycles. This parallel creates ease. The universe and the body move together in different scales. You breathe softly, and the universe exhales through you. As patterns settle deeper, novelty loses importance. Nothing new needs to happen. The repetition itself is enough. Patterns that never rush do not seek attention. They remain background. In that background, rest becomes possible. Awareness does not need to track each movement. Patterns carry themselves. As this understanding settles, as rhythm becomes dominant, attention drifts gently onward toward deeper repetition, where patterns become quieter, and the mind no longer distinguishes one cycle from the next. As patterns continue to repeat, attention stops tracking them. Repetition becomes background. Cycles no longer need to be noticed to continue. In the universe, the most enduring patterns are the least observed. They persist quietly, whether witnessed or not. Stars continue their paths without awareness of the cycle. Galaxies maintain their shapes without monitoring their motion. Nothing checks the rhythm. Nothing corrects it. Patterns hold themselves. This self-holding is what allows them to last. When no effort is required, nothing becomes strained. You breathe softly, and the universe exhales through you. At the largest scales, order does not arise from control. It arises from allowance. Matter is permitted to move freely. Time is permitted to stretch. Within this openness, repetition naturally appears. Paths that work continue to be used. Paths that do not fade away. This selection is gentle. It contains no urgency. Over long durations, the universe keeps what endures. There is no rush to replace what functions. Patterns are not perfected. They are simply repeated until they feel stable. Stability here does not mean rigidity. It means Familiarity. The universe becomes familiar with itself. Even large-scale structures are shaped by this process. Filaments persist because matter continues to flow along them. Voids remain open because nothing fills them quickly. The pattern reinforces itself without command. Time does the work. As repetition deepens, change slows further. When change slows, distinction softens. One cycle blends into the next. Beginnings and endings lose their edges. Patterns stretch across time until they feel continuous. The universe does not separate moments sharply. It lets them overlap. This overlap reduces contrast. Without contrast, nothing stands out sharply. The nervous system responds to this softness. Awareness loosens. You breathe softly, and the universe exhales through you. In this state, even complexity becomes gentle. Many motions occur at once, yet none dominate. Layers of movement exist together without interference. The universe holds multiple rhythms simultaneously, each slow enough not to collide. This layered calm creates depth. Nothing needs to be simplified. Complexity does not overwhelm when it unfolds slowly. Time allows every layer to find its place. Nothing is crowded out. Patterns coexist without conflict. This coexistence creates quiet richness. But even this richness does not demand attention. It remains background texture. As attention drifts, the mind stops labeling. Patterns are no longer identified. They are simply present. Repetition becomes indistinguishable from stillness. Movement feels like rest. You breathe softly, and the universe exhales through you. The universe does not signal when a pattern is complete. It does not announce transitions. Patterns fade as gently as they appear. There is no marker between one repetition and the next. This absence of markers allows continuity to feel seamless. Time flows without punctuation. Without punctuation, nothing interrupts rest. The mind no longer anticipates the next moment. Expectation dissolves. Awareness floats within ongoing rhythm. Nothing needs to be followed. Patterns continue without being tracked. This is where effort fully releases. There is no need to understand what repeats. Repetition is enough. As patterns fade into background presence, another quality becomes noticeable, not structure, not motion, but softness. Silence, no longer empty, begins to feel gentle. It does not press. It does not isolate. It holds, and as patterns recede into quiet repetition, awareness drifts naturally toward that softness, toward a silence that does not demand attention, a silence that feels supportive, where rest deepens further, and the universe continues without being noticed at all. As patterns fade into repetition, silence begins to change its quality. It is no longer empty. It is no longer distant. Silence becomes something that surrounds, something that holds in the universe. Silence is the natural state, not because nothing happens, but because nothing announces itself. There is no air and space to carry vibration, no medium to translate motion into sound. Events occur without noise. Stars burn in quiet fusion. Galaxies turn without whisper. Light moves without echo. Silence here is not imposed. It is effortless. The absence of sound does not feel vacant. It feels smooth. In this smoothness, nothing startles awareness. You breathe softly, and the universe exhales through you. On Earth, silence is often temporary, a pause between sounds, a gap that soon fills. In space, silence is continuous. There is no background hum, no distant echo, only vast stillness, stretched across distance and time. This stillness does not press inward, it opens outward. Silence becomes spacious. Within that spaciousness, movement continues, but gently. Light travels, particles drift, fields shift. None of this disturbs the quiet. Silence absorbs motion without resistance. This absorption softens everything. Even energy feels calmer when nothing vibrates. As awareness rests here, the sense of hearing begins to loosen. There is no need to listen. Nothing is coming. The universe offers no alert, no signal requiring response. The nervous system recognizes this absence. It settles. Breathing deepens slightly, then slows. Muscles soften without instruction. Silence allows the body to stop preparing. You breathe softly, and the universe exhales through you. In the quiet between galaxies, temperatures approach stillness. Energy spreads thin. Motion becomes minimal. These regions change so slowly that time itself feels quiet. Nothing marks the passing of moments. Without sound, time loses its edges. Seconds and minutes blend into duration. Duration becomes gentle. Silence stretches long enough to feel like rest. The universe does not interrupt itself. There is no sudden noise to reset attention. Nothing breaks the flow. Silence remains consistent. Consistency creates safety. When nothing unexpected arrives, the body releases vigilance. Awareness no longer scans. It floats. Silence becomes supportive. It does not isolate. It connects. In silence, distance feels less sharp. Without sound to define space, boundaries soften. Everything feels farther apart, yet less separated. The universe holds itself in quiet cohesion. You breathe softly, and the universe exhales through you. Even within silence, there is subtle rhythm, not sound, but pattern. Expansion continues. Light stretches. Fields remain steady. This rhythm is too slow to be heard. It is felt instead, a sense of gentle continuation. Nothing pulses sharply. Nothing repeats quickly. The rhythm of the universe is measured in ages. This long rhythm does not intrude. It supports. Silence here is not the absence of life. It is the absence of urgency. Nothing asks to be noticed. Nothing competes. This absence of competition allows rest to deepen. Attention no longer needs to choose. There is nothing to select. Silence levels everything. In this level state, thoughts thin. They no longer form clearly. Ideas soften at their edges, then dissolve. What remains is sensation, a feeling of being held by quiet. The universe does not speak, yet it communicates calm. You breathe softly, and the universe exhales through you. As silence continues, the sense of self becomes less defined. Without sound, There is less separation between inner and outer. Awareness spreads. It does not focus. It rests. The body feels heavier, not with weight, but with ease. Limbs settle into their position. There is no need to adjust. Silence does not rush. It remains exactly as it is, moment after moment. This sameness is comforting. Nothing changes suddenly. Nothing needs to be anticipated. In this gentle silence, rest becomes the default. The universe does not require attention to remain stable. Silence holds everything without effort. And as this quality of quiet deepens, as sound fades completely from importance, awareness drifts naturally onward toward an even softer state, where silence is no longer noticed at all, only felt, and rest settles more deeply into the body and mind. As silence continues, it no longer feels like an absence. It feels like a presence, not something that arrives, but something that has always been here, waiting quietly to be noticed and then forgotten again. In the universe, silence does not surround from the outside. It supports from within. Nothing presses against it. Nothing breaks through. Silence holds without gripping. You breathe softly, and the universe exhales through you. In this quiet, movement becomes almost imperceptible. Light still travels, but it does not announce itself. Fields remain steady. Expansion continues, yet none of this asks to be followed. Motion blends into stillness. Stillness blends into rest. The distinction fades. Without sound, the body becomes more noticeable than thought. The weight of the head, the settling of the shoulders, the slow rise and fall that continues on its own. Nothing needs correction. Silence allows gravity to feel gentle. The body is supported by whatever it rests upon, and by the space around it. There is no need to adjust position, no signal to respond to. Silence removes instruction. You breathe softly, and the universe exhales through you. In the vast spaces between galaxies, silence lasts so long that change itself feels optional. Moments are not counted. They are allowed to pass without distinction. This absence of markers softens awareness. Without sound to mark time, the mind stops tracking. Thoughts no longer form sequences. They loosen, then drift away. Silence remains after they pass. It does not comment. It does not replace them. It simply continues. The universe does not hurry to fill quiet. It trusts quiet to hold what is needed. As silence deepens, edges soften further. The sense of here and there thins. Distance feels less important. Proximity feels less defined. Everything exists within the same gentle field. You breathe softly, and the universe exhales through you. This field does not vibrate. It does not pulse. It remains even. Evenness allows the nervous system to release its final readiness. There is nothing approaching, nothing retreating. Silence confirms this. The body responds by sinking slightly deeper into rest. Muscles let go without instruction. Breathing becomes quieter, not by effort, but by alignment. Silence aligns everything. In this alignment, awareness does not need to stay awake. It can drift. Silence does not disappear when awareness fades. It remains steady and unchanged. Nothing depends on being noticed. This makes letting go easier. The universe does not require observation to continue. It does not require listening to remain whole. Silence holds, whether attended to or not. You breathe softly, and the universe exhales through you. As attention thins, silence becomes less noticeable, not because it leaves, but because nothing contrasts with it. There is no sound to define its edges. Quiet blends into itself. This blending removes effort. The mind no longer distinguishes between silence and rest. They become the same. In this state, thought has little shape. Language softens, then fades. What remains is sensation, not specific, not directional, a sense of being held without hands. The universe does not touch, yet it supports. Immensity does not overwhelm, it steadies. Silence is wide enough to contain everything without pressure. As this holding continues, awareness drifts closer to complete rest. Nothing needs to be carried forward. Nothing needs to be remembered. Silence remains as a constant background, and within that background, sleep approaches without announcement. As this gentle quiet settles fully, as silence becomes indistinguishable from rest itself, awareness drifts naturally onward toward the feeling of being held by something vast and unhurried, where the universe does not need attention, and rest deepens on its own. At this scale, immensity is no longer distant. It does not stand far away. It does not surround from the outside. It holds. The universe, vast beyond measure, does not press inward. It does not overwhelm. Its size creates space, space enough for everything to rest. Immensity here is not force. It is support. In the universe, nothing is suspended in nothingness. Everything is carried by gravity, by structure, by balance. Even the largest galaxies are held gently within wider motion. Nothing floats alone. You breathe softly, and the universe exhales through you. The word vast often suggests emptiness, but in the universe, vastness functions like a cushion. Distances absorb tension. Scales dissolve urgency. The larger the system, the gentler its influence. Immensity does not rush. It stabilizes. On cosmic scales, gravity acts slowly. Its pull spreads wide, thin, almost unnoticeable, yet it holds everything together. Nothing needs to cling. Nothing needs to grip. Being held does not require effort. This is how the universe sustains itself. Galaxies remain in place not because they are fixed, but because their motion is balanced on all sides. They are held by what surrounds them. No side pulls harder. No direction dominates. Balance creates rest. You breathe softly, and the universe exhales through you. In this immensity, there is no edge to lean against, no boundary to press upon. Pressure dissolves when there is room in every direction. This room is what allows ease. When nothing confines, nothing strains. The universe offers this continuously, not as comfort given, but as structure provided. Everything exists within a field of allowance. This allowance feels like support. At smaller scales, this principle repeats. Atoms are mostly space, yet they remain stable. Planets move freely, yet they remain held. Stars burn steadily, yet they remain balanced. Holding does not mean restriction. It means equilibrium. The universe holds by allowing. You breathe softly, and the universe exhales through you. As awareness rests in this idea, the sense of effort falls away almost completely. There is nothing to maintain, nothing to support manually. The universe is already doing that. This recognition does not need thought. It is felt. The body responds by letting go of its final tensions. Shoulders settle. Jaw softens. The weight of the body is fully given to what supports it. Nothing resists gravity now. Gravity feels kind. It pulls downward with constancy, not urgency. Being held feels natural in the universe. There is no fear of falling. Everything that moves is already moving within support. Nothing drops into emptiness. Even light, traveling through space, is guided by structure. Nothing is lost. Immensity keeps track without watching. It does not monitor. It does not judge. It simply remains. You breathe softly, and the universe exhales through you. At this depth, the idea of scale no longer needs explanation. Small and large lose distinction. Everything feels evenly contained. The universe does not distinguish between what is noticed and what is not. Both are held the same. Awareness can fade without consequence. Nothing depends on it staying present. The universe continues without observation. This makes rest safe. There is no responsibility attached to being awake. Nothing will be missed. Immensity guarantees continuity. As this understanding settles, the sense of self softens further. Edges blur. There is less sense of inside and outside, less sense of separation. Everything rests within the same quiet field. The body feels heavier, not weighed down, but fully supported. Breathing is shallow now, slow, almost automatic. There is no need to follow it. It happens. Immensity does not require participation. It carries regardless. You breathe softly, and the universe exhales through you. As this holding becomes complete, awareness drifts even closer to sleep, not by decision, not by effort, simply because nothing remains to be done. Immensity has taken over, and within this vast, steady support, rest deepens naturally, without instruction, without thought, as the universe continues exactly as it always has. At this depth, holding no longer needs explanation. It is simply present. The universe does not lean. It does not brace. It rests within itself. Everything remains because everything is balanced. Immensity does not act. It allows. Allowance becomes support. You breathe softly, and the universe exhales through you. In this vast field, nothing needs to be fixed. No adjustment is required for rest to continue. The universe has already accounted for motion, for change, for stillness. All of it fits. The idea of effort no longer applies. Nothing is being sustained manually. Support is built in. Gravity remains gentle. Time remains wide. Space remains open. These do not vary. They do not respond to attention or absence. They simply continue. This constancy creates safety. Awareness can thin without consequence. Nothing depends on it. You breathe softly, and the universe exhales through you. At this stage, thoughts may still appear, but they do not gather. They rise briefly, then settle back into the larger quiet. No conclusion is needed. Thought does not need to finish. Language itself begins to soften. Words lose their edges. Meaning becomes sensation. A sense of being carried without movement. A sense of weight without pressure. Everything rests where it belongs. Immensity does not pull attention outward. It absorbs attention inward. There is no direction to follow, only presence, and then less of it. The universe does not require a witness. It continues without recognition. This removes the final reason to remain awake. You breathe softly, and the universe exhales through you. In this holding, even the idea of scale fades. Large and small are no longer compared. Everything feels equal in support. Nothing stands out. Nothing recedes. The field remains even. Evenness calms the nervous system completely. There is no signal of threat, no hint of urgency. Nothing approaches quickly. Nothing withdraws suddenly. The universe remains steady. The body responds by letting go entirely. Muscles no longer maintain tone. Joints settle into place. Breathing becomes minimal, soft, automatic. There is no need to notice it. Immensity handles the rest. You breathe softly, and the universe exhales through you. At this point, awareness may flicker. Moments of attention and moments of absence blend together. This blending is natural. Sleep approaches without crossing a boundary. There is no moment where waking ends and sleep begins. Only a gradual thinning. The universe does not mark transitions. It allows overlap. In this overlap, rest completes itself. Nothing needs to be remembered. Nothing needs to be carried forward. Immensity holds everything that matters. Awareness is free to drift fully. The universe will remain exactly as it is. Light will continue to travel. Space will continue to open. Time will continue to widen. None of this requires attention. You breathe softly, and the universe exhales through you, as holding becomes total. Language falls away. Descriptions become unnecessary. What remains is quiet support, stillness without effort, presence without awareness. The universe holds you without needing to know you are there. This is enough. Rest deepens on its own, and as this vast, steady holding continues, as immensity remains unchanged, sleep arrives gently, without instruction, without signal, without resistance. Nothing new needs to happen. Nothing has been left behind. The universe continues, exactly as it always has. You have not gone anywhere, and nothing has moved away from you. There is no departure here, only settling. The universe does not require travel to feel distant. Distance has already softened. Space has already opened. Time has already widened. Everything necessary is already in place. You breathe softly, and the universe exhales through you. Light continues its journey. Whether it is noticed or not, it moves across open space, stretching gently, growing quieter with distance. This movement does not announce itself. It does not require attention. It simply continues. Time does the same. Moments widen, edges dissolve. There is no sequence to follow now, no order to maintain. The universe does not count what comes next. It allows overlap. In this overlap, rest becomes complete. You have returned without leaving anything behind. The body understands this. Weight settles fully. There is no readiness remaining, no posture to hold, no balance to maintain. Support is total. Gravity is steady. Surface is steady. Silence is steady. Nothing shifts suddenly. You breathe softly, and the universe exhales through you. In the universe, nothing pauses for sleep, and nothing requires waking. Processes continue without awareness. Stars burn steadily. Galaxies drift patiently. Space expands quietly. None of this depends on attention. Sleep does not interrupt the universe. It aligns with it. Rest is not absence. It is participation. Even now, you are part of motion, part of balance, part of continuation. No effort is required. Awareness may flicker, then thin further. Thought may appear, then fade. Nothing needs to be completed. Language itself is no longer necessary. Meaning has softened into sensation, a sense of being held without direction, a sense of being home without location. The universe does not distinguish between being awake and being asleep. Both are contained. You breathe softly, and the universe exhales through you. At this depth, returning means nothing more than resting where you already are. There is no path back. There was no journey outward. Everything has been here the entire time. This realization does not need to be understood. It is felt briefly, then released. The body releases with it. Breathing becomes faint, regular, automatic. Muscles remain still without instruction. The nervous system has nothing left to monitor. Everything is accounted for. The universe is wide enough to hold this rest. Time does not measure this moment. It allows it. The present does not end. It opens. You breathe softly, and the universe exhales through you. As awareness continues to thin, there is no need to stay. Nothing will be missed. Nothing will change because of sleep. The universe does not pause, and it does not require permission. Sleep fits naturally within its structure. You are not leaving consciousness. It is simply becoming quieter, just as light softens with distance. Awareness softens with rest. Nothing disappears. It fades gently into background. The universe remains. Light still travels. Space still opens. Time still widens. And here, rest completes itself without effort. You are home. Light still travels. It moves quietly, without pause, without a destination that needs to be known. It stretches as space stretches, thinning gently, becoming softer the farther it goes. Nothing interrupts it. Nothing redirects it. Light does not hurry. It does not slow. It simply continues. The universe does not check whether anyone is watching. It does not notice sleep. It does not mark awareness fading. Time continues in wide, patient arcs. Moments no longer arrive distinctly. They do not line up. They overlap, then soften, then dissolve into duration. There is no edge between now and what follows. Only continuity. You breathe softly, and the universe exhales through you. Space remains open. It does not close around rest. It does not tighten. It leaves room for stillness to settle fully. In this openness, Nothing presses inward. Nothing asks for readiness. Support remains even. The body rests without adjustment. No muscle prepares. No signal forms completely. Breathing continues on its own, quietly, effortlessly. The universe does not require awareness to remain present. It carries everything without notice. Stars continue their steady fusion, turning matter into light without interruption. Galaxies maintain their slow drift, each one balanced within wider motion. Fields remain steady. Expansion remains gentle. None of this changes because sleep arrives. Sleep does not interrupt reality. It belongs within it. You breathe softly, and the universe exhales through you. At this depth, language loosens. Words no longer assemble fully. Meaning thins into tone. Sound becomes rhythm. Rhythm becomes space. Nothing needs to be understood. Everything that matters is already accounted for. Light still travels, not to arrive, not to deliver, but to continue. The universe breathes through you, not as motion, not as instruction, but as allowance. In and out lose distinction. Breath becomes background. The body no longer signals. It remains still because it is supported. There is nothing to hold, nothing to follow. Awareness fades without being taken. It does not disappear suddenly. It thins, like light stretching across distance. Sleep arrives without crossing a boundary. There is no moment to witness it happening. No switch, no signal, only a gentle thinning of attention. The universe does not announce when rest becomes complete. It simply holds. You breathe softly, and the universe exhales through you. Nothing is ending. Nothing has ended. Light continues. Space continues. Time continues. And rest continues with them. There is no need to return anywhere. You never left. The sense of being here softens into being held. Held by balance. Held by scale. Held by quiet continuation. Nothing presses for attention. Nothing waits for response. Silence remains. Breath remains. Support remains. The universe breathes through you. Light still travels. Not brighter, not dimmer, just farther. And you are home. There is nothing else to do. Nothing else to notice. Nothing else to become. You are home. You can rest now.